Spider-Man: Web of Shadows is undoubtedly the darkest Spider-Man story that has ever been told. This wild game allows you to unlive civilians while playing as our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. As dark as the story gets as you choose the dark path, the game gradually gets more and more serious. It's almost like a horror story, but developers had to make it barely child-friendly so the game could pass as a regular, colorful, and happy, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man game, but the reality is quite far from it. The whole game feels like a fever dream, from its visuals to character designs, from its art style to its sound design. To the apocalyptic story it tells us, to the dark atmosphere it creates through the end game. Have you ever imagined a childish dream like bad guys raid the school and you're the one kid that saved your friends in school? This game has a childish story like this, but in this case, you are the bad guy.
You're right about one thing, old man. This is about me and him. I'm gonna end this once and for all. I spared him 4 days ago, but not today. Today, Venom dies.
The whole game is like a big fanfiction, and that is exactly what makes this game the perfect game. We want more of such experiments in media market, and this is not all, because the game ends with a cliffhanger, and we still don't know what the events of Web of Shadows lead to. The stakes were extremely high, so I doubt we can see more than two medias in the same universe. And a story in gaming market had the balls to tell such a story in 2008. I highly doubt we can tell stories like this in 2023. As more and more sensitive our society gets, less and less we are likely to get amazing experiments like Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. Yes, the whole game is a big experiment that just went well. I mean, who could just make Spider-Man walk while Moonlight Sonata plays in the background? Anyways, if you can't make Web of Shadows 2, you could at least bring out a comic book about aftermath of events of Web of Shadows. I would buy it because I'm a sucker for dark shit like that. In the end game, a whole horde of symbiote army is worshipping to him. Now, isn't it a great freaking idea to have Spider-Man as a villain? But none, we will never see what happened after cliffhanger ending of Web of Shadows, not even in a comic book.
Bring me Spider-Man, dead or alive.
I'm going with Dad.
Anyways, let's just analyze this perfection of a game to reveal why it's the perfect experiment we didn't want but needed. First, the characters, and mainly the Spider-Man himself. Do you notice the small change when you change suits with the press of a button? How does he immediately get more bitter, darker, and bows his head down to the ground? When do you bow your head? What's going on in your insides when you do bow your head to the ground? What are your emotions? This is exactly what you understand when you choose to wear a black suit. You are bitter. Your whole worldview is more grim. And this is exactly what type of atmosphere this small stance change captures in this perfect art form of a game. Small things like this are what gives a game character a real character. As you can see, a lot is told just by a small stance change, because the golden rule of the storytelling, show, don't tell. I cannot tell you enough how much the smallest change build up a character. It also adds artistic value to the game too. And you should also check out just how aggressive the character looks. It's not like newer Spider-Man media with his big cute eyes that are somehow can get bigger and smaller depending on his emotion. The whole purpose of a mask is ruined in this newer medias. They're able to act as a face somehow, which is very childish and unserious. And now let's examine what's going on with the world that we're in and the end game. If you turn down game music and just listen to the distant ambient sounds, you can realize a lot of fear and terror and chaos is taking place. A lot of small visual storytelling elements are there too, for the catching eye. An example here is overgrown symbiote tentacles reaching into air tents and possibly the apartments. It's up to players' imagination what kind of terror happened inside walls. But you, as a single guy, can only have so much effect on the outcome of this chaos. For example, here, a group of civilians are trapped, and what happened here before we could get here is unknown, but it's highly likely that those civvies are gone now. And what makes everything worse is, Spider-Man finds solution in beating those poor civvies up to their inevitable end of life. Like, even if you choose good path and turn all the monsters into normal humans again, the Goners are long gone, and if there's a stable judicial system, he is likely to be judged by his offenses. You see, morally, this game is dark, even if you choose all the good paths in it. Some may argue that I'm reading too far into it, it's just a game, but I disagree. The developers were aware of what they were exactly going for while developing this media. Now, isn't it like a fever dream to see everyone around you turned into monsters, all but you? You're like the last non-monster alive. Can you feel the loneliness, the horrors of this madness? This is why, when you think about it, the whole game feels like a fever dream. Surrounded by monsters in a city full of monsters is scary. All the small windows have their own story. They once had people in them. Now, when you climb on that wall, you know that it's empty this time. There's no one there. The game captures this loneliness, ghost town atmosphere too good. And what you have to do to save the city is to quite literally unalive some former humans that are now monsters. Is it not depressing? Maybe this is exactly why Spider-Man is extremely bitter, dark, and depressed in this game. That would explain his depression. The game just tells a dark story no matter what path you choose. And this is why we need more experimental, fanfiction, passion projects like this. If you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and also comment and leave a like.